Alrighty folks, welcome back to the channel. Hey, appreciate y'all taking some time out of your day to go ahead and watch these videos. This one's specifically for Always Angry. If you haven't seen his videos on YouTube, go check out his channel, link in the description. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He was the only one to ask me this question, and we talked about this yesterday in the chat. And it's about, am I disappointed with the performance of where I'm at now compared to the performance when I was running, you know, mid and low 10s with the HP70 vice where I'm at now with the HP90. I did talk about this Wednesday quite a bit for a few minutes, and I am not. I'm not disappointed with where I'm at. I figured this is probably where I would be once we switch to the 90, because I knew you know, it's going to take some time to dial in the 90 as well as we had the 70 dialed in. Arguably, we had that HP70 dialed in, I would say, just about perfect. I don't know if anybody else could have tuned that 70 in any better than what it was, because we did run some very fast times on that 70. And you got to keep in mind, when you're comparing times, you also have to take in account the weather. You cannot discount the weather, especially with the setup I have now, right? So my setup is dependent upon the weather because my intake temperatures are dependent upon the weather. So when it's cold outside, I get better intake temps. If it's hot outside, I get hot intake temps. That's just the nature of the beast. You know, the air-to-air intercooler does work really well. It helps, but it's still fairly dependent upon the weather. Where now, when I move to the water to air, or air to water, whichever way you want to say it, when I move to that, then we're talking about putting ice in an ice tank and keeping the water cold, which will keep the intake temps down extremely, even in the summertime. So we should see next year, when I get to the point of being able to afford the air to water, it should make shake and bake that much more consistent, regardless of the weather. Now, there's going to be some differences still because of the weather, but that will help minimize the effect, right, and keep those IATs down. So let's get into the case at point, comparing the HP70 then to the HP90 now. And we've only done one revision. We've only done one revision, one tune, right? That was based off the stock tune. So we've only had one tune and haven't had it revised. So we're looking at doing that, and Dave's going to revise it now based on the logs that I took on last Friday. We're going to go back out this Friday, as long as weather holds out, and see what the update can do for the 90, and see if we can't do better than the 10.6 we did on Friday. But let's get straight into this now. So let's go back. HP70 high stall torque converter. This was back end of April, beginning of May. That's when I ran the end of April. I ran a 10.31. The temperature was 64 degrees, 21% humidity, 18 grains, and 282 DA. The 18 grains, from what I've seen so far, I've rarely seen that here in Maryland. But so that was super good weather. Let's be honest. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that, though. We do get into the negatives you know, towards November, but that's super, super, super nice weather. Literally the next day, I ran a 10.5. We're still on the HP70. I ran a 10.5. It was 65 degrees, 77% humidity, 71 grains, and 679 DA. So literally from one day to the next, big jump in humidity, big jump in grains. I went from a 10.3 to a 10.5 on the same track. These were both at Capital. Literally one day right after the other. So good weather. That's when we ran the 10.3. Keep that in mind. And I'm gonna post these time slips all the way across. So eventually I'm gonna cover up my face with time slips, so you can compare all of these time slips and make some of your own swags and deductions of your own. So let's get into the end of May, beginning of July. Now we're starting to get into summer weather, or June. May, June, July, somewhere in there. So now we're talking hotter weather, not as good DA, not as good humidity and grains, and we'll see the results. So now we're still on the 70 high stall torque converter, 10.7.2. That was 76 degrees, 52% humidity, 79 grains, and 1860 DA, and that was a 10.7.2 HP70 high stall torque converter. Literally, I think this was a couple weeks later. I don't have the exact dates and times on all these, but it was 84 degrees, 68% humidity, 123 grains, 2808 DA. I ran a 10.8.1. Let's get into end of August, beginning of September. This is when we're on the stock HP90 and the stock tune. This was one of the first runs. We did an 11.1. It was 82 degrees, 78% humidity, 131 grains, 2,384 DA. Now, arguably, that's somewhat comparable to that last 10.8 that I ran with the HP70. The grains are a little bit more, humidity is another 10%, but that's fairly-ish close, right? You know, if I could have found the exact same conditions, which is about impossible. But anyway, so that's our first run on the HP90, and I was happy with that. With the DA we were in, being on a stock tune on the stock HP90, I was absolutely happy with that. Let's move into September. Now, this is when this is a week after that first run, and we updated the tune. Dave updated the tune for me. The first run was an 11.4, 81 degrees, 61% humidity, 99 grains, and 2040 DA. So arguably we ran probably in a little better weather. We ran a tad quicker than that first run. And then obviously the weather got real good that night. Well, not real good, but 76 degrees, 76% humidity, 103 grains, 1,667 DA, and we ran a 10.8.5. 100% happy with that because we were back in the 10s. Now we're on the HP90, that same updated tune, but I swapped to the 309 gears. All right. So the first run was 79 degrees, 45% humidity, 67 grains, and 1750 DA, and we ran a 10.7.1. Now, if you look, that's fairly comparable. Somewhat comparable to the 10.7.2 when it was 76 degrees, and you can look at the time slip. So that's fairly comparable, right? So 10.7.2 to a 10.7.1, roughly the same weather, hey, I didn't expect to get any faster out of the gate with the 90. It just wasn't going to happen, right? It's not going to add power, but it allows us to tune and turn things up a little bit more than what we were on the 70. But more on that later. And then our last run, 71 degrees, 64% humidity, 73 grains, and 1271 DA. And that's our fastest pass so far on the 90, was a 1063. So absolutely happy with that. There's really no comparable run to that 1063. But we were running into, in the shifts, the 1, 2, 2, 3, I'm getting a little conflicting information. Dave seems to think it's just tapping the edge of the rev limiter and cutting us back, or it's hitting torque management. Talking to Dave, looking, and him looking at the logs, he's not seeing any shift torque management in there. So we're probably are hitting the top of that rev limiter. He's going to tweak the tune. We're going to run again tomorrow night. I don't know what the weather is supposed to be like. Hopefully it's something similar to last week to give us somewhat of a good comparison, but I can't control the weather. But all of that, wipe all those away. All of that said, I'm absolutely happy where Shake and Bake is at. She's right back where she was, arguably with the 70 with a high stall torque converter. If you're in the chat Wednesday, I got a high stall torque converter coming. Hopefully it gets here sometime this week, or early next week. That way we can get it in before a test and tune next week. So then we can test 309 gears with a high stall torque converter versus 309 gears with the stock converter. So you can make some comparisons with the time slips that I provided you. But yes, I'm absolutely happy where we're at, and nothing but moving forward from here, folks. But I know that's a lot of rambling, but I just wanted everyone to see where my thinking is at and the data I'm using to come to my conclusion of I'm absolutely happy with where we're at. So that wraps up this one, folks. If you are stopping in for the first time, please check out the rest of the channel. If you like what's going on with the channel, please do me those few things. Like, subscribe, smash the bell, shoot me a comment, share it on your social media. I'll definitely appreciate it. Shake and Bake definitely appreciate it, because every red penny from YouTube goes right back into Shake and Bake. That's it for this one, folks. Until the racing videos again, adios.